Today, I am joined by the fabulous and the instrumental in change around the world, Mr. Michael Gerber. He is an innovator, entrepreneur, and author of mega best-selling 29 E-Myth books. The Wall Street Journal has named the E-Myth the #1 business book of all time. It sold millions of copies and been translated into 29 languages and counting. He founded the Michael Thomas Corporation, the E-Myth Academy, E-Myth Worldwide, Michael E-Gerber Companies, and he's served hundreds of thousands of small businesses all around the globe. Inc. magazine calls this legend the world's #1 small business guru, the entrepreneurial and small business thought leader who has impacted the lives of millions, including myself, business owners everywhere. His original book came out in 1986. You probably have that book or E-Myth Revisited, which came out in 1995 on your shelf, and I trust you've read it as many times as I have and implemented the beautiful message and the profound message within those books. It is revisited constantly. His trainings, his ideas, and his thoughts are replicated and captured in universities all around the world. And we are joined today by the phenomenal Mr. Michael Gerber. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Delighted to be here.
It's such a pleasure to be able to connect with you, Michael. And may I say, happy birthday.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today, celebrating your 85th, is that public? 85th year.
85, yes. I'm feeling fine. I'm feeling wonderful. I'm feeling 85. Yeah. And yes. I'm feeling like I've earned it. And I paid the price for it. And I've got so much more to do and so much more to give.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I'm really curious to know, what is a moment in time for you that has transformed your love and life and your business?
Well, it was that very first moment. I was asked as a favor by my loving brother-in-law. His name is Ace. He's still my brother-in-law, which is even more remarkable. And he asked me if I would visit a client of his. Ace had started an advertising agency in Silicon Valley. And he was having difficulty with some of his clients converting the leads they were creating into sales. So Ace asked me if I would visit one of his clients, a small high-tech firm in Silicon Valley, who's having great difficulty in converting leads into sales. My response to Ace was, Ace, I don't know anything about business, and I didn't. And I certainly don't know anything about, in quotes, high tech. And he said, Michael, you know more than you think you do. Just do me the favor, meet with Bob for about an hour and see what happens. And so, of course, that's my nature, meet with Bob for about an hour and see what happens. I've been meeting with the Bobs of the world for about an hour for years and see what happens. I had no idea what was going to happen, none. And so when I did meet Bob and Ace said, guys, I'm going to take off for an hour, get to know each other, and I'll be back to pick Michael up. And Bob said to me, so Michael, what do you know about my business? I said exactly what was true. Nothing, Bob. And he looked a little dispirited and he said, well, what do you know about my product? And I said, less than that, Bob. So of course you can understand the question that would come. Well, Michael, if you don't know anything about my business and you don't know anything about my product, how can you help me? And I said, I haven't a clue, Bob. Ace thinks I can. We've got an hour to kill. Let's find out. Yeah. So the only thing left to do was to ask Bob questions. And of course, that was very easy to do because I didn't know anything about his business and didn't know anything about his product. So I began to ask him questions, of course, about his business and about his product. And the more questions I asked, the more it became absolutely apparent to me that all of Bob's answers were anecdotal. In short, it was almost as though he was making up the answers as we went along. And it was astonishing to me because I figured here's a guy who owns a business, a high-tech business, and that he must know something that I don't know. And I suddenly came face to face with the fact that he didn't seem to. And the more questions I asked, the more it became apparent to me I did know something about business. I knew that selling is a system. And I knew that because I'd learned that in the most improbable way possible, selling encyclopedias door to door.
Yeah.
Think about that. I'd learned that selling encyclopedias door to door. And here I was sitting in front of one I presumed to be a sophisticated business owner, and he didn't know what I knew. I said, Bob, it's obvious what your problem is. You've hired sales engineers, because they had to understand the technology, sales, because they had to have sales experience, and every single one of them are making it up as they went along. In short, you don't have a selling system, Bob. Yeah. And Bob said, what's that? And I said, that's the point, Bob. Until you understand what a selling system is, you will never successfully convert the leads that ACE is creating for you into sales. So Bob said to me, so can you create that selling system? Sure, Bob. Just like I said to ACE, okay, ACE, I got an hour to kill. I can ask Bob all the questions I need to ask to find out more about what's missing in Bob's business. And I did, and we did. And ACE picked me up and he said, so what happened, Michael? I said, Bob hired me. And he said, hired you to do what? I said, to create a selling system for him. And ACE said, literally, but Michael, you don't know anything about his business. You don't know anything about his product. How in the world do you expect to do that? And I said, ACE, that's what I told you when you asked me to come over here. And that was the beginning of EMyth. That was the beginning of my entire life. That was the beginning of every one of those 29 books, of everything I've ever written, everything I've ever done, every business I've ever worked with, any transformation I've ever created happened in that moment when I came face to face with, I didn't know anything about business, but I knew more than he did. And the knowing more than he did was the key. So Sharon, hear me, knowing more than he did was the key, that everything is a system. Because as I began to realize that he didn't have a selling system, he didn't have a management system either, he didn't have a financial system either, he didn't have a marketing system either, he didn't have a system for doing anything. He was depending upon people who had the experience to do what he needed them to do. And that was the worst thing in the world he could have done. And that was illuminating to me. It created a whole new life.
That's incredible. How's Bob's business doing? Do we know?
That business was doing absolutely spectacularly years upon years upon years upon years ago. You understand, that was way back then in 1975. 1975. Somebody asked me yesterday, Michael, who was that guy? I don't remember that guy. I don't remember that one guy among all the thousands. But hear me, yes, it made all the difference in the world. All Fabulous. The difference in the world.
And you took that one idea, that kernel of knowing that you knew differently to them. They knew about in their doing, but you knew how to think about replication. So how does, or what does the EMyth transformation mean to you today in 2021
Well,
from
the
$1975.
E-Myth transformation today means exactly what it meant back then in 1975, 76, 77, 78, and on and on and on. It means transformation. It means effectively the one reason that E-Myth has had such a strikingly profound impact upon the people who get it. And that is, it takes them beyond where they are to see it from above.
Yeah.
You've done that. You know exactly what I'm speaking about.
Yeah.
And you had to remove yourself from doing it to seeing it being done. And the minute you're able to see it being done as a thing in itself, as an organization of principles, as an organization of actions, as an organization of positions and realities, you suddenly realize going to work on my company is the key. And that's all that E-Myth is all about. And it's been about that for years. And it's created a revolution in business that is rarely ever thought of as being sourced by E-Myth. But in fact, the entire business spectrum that you look at today didn't exist when I started this way back then in 1977.
Yeah, and neither did the business consulting businesses the way they are now as well. I go online, Michael, and I can see E-Myth principles
yes,
coming through, some of them quite blatantly and openly, which is fantastic. And some of them more, I see there's the E-Myth principles overlaid over what you're going to bring this business. That must be an incredible, I don't know, what does that mean to you when you see that? That's the way you've shaped how we think about business.
Well, it's had a profound impact upon me, obviously. It's had a profound impact upon me in more ways than we have the time to speak about here. But in another way, it's had a profound realization in me that there's so much more to be done. That in fact, so much more to be done in the transformation of mindset and the way people think. It's a tragedy. And it's a tragedy that it is so hard to get people to leave behind who they believe they are. It's so hard to get people to leave behind who they believe themselves to be. In a conversation I had yesterday with some folks, they said, so what is the one thing you think you actually have seen that has enabled you to see that difference? And it was truly the question, what am I, not who am I? I've never met a human being ask the question, what am I? Lots of people ask the question, who am I? But you understand, when I said that to the gentleman who asked me that question yesterday, it came to me, that realization that what am I is the big question. But we never think, what am I? But suddenly in this context, Sharon, what am I becomes huge. Just try it on for size. What am I? And you're suddenly in a completely strange world. It's that strange world I'm inviting people to join me in. Because as one enters that strange world, something that never showed up before begins to reveal itself in such a way that you begin to see everything anew. And that's what E-Myth and the E-Myth transformation is all about, seeing everything anew. And until you see everything anew, you can't do anything anew. because we do what we see. And until we ask that question, what am I? We never jar ourselves sufficiently to go beyond the habit that we've been born into. So here I am at 85.
Yeah.
Most improbable question under the sun of everybody who's sitting here listening in, and asking them to ask themselves the question they've never asked before, and to be prepared for not really knowing the answer.
So let's get the conversation started. I'm sure there are lots of people watching this joining in and wanting to know how to think about what am I. So I'll throw to you, Michael, to lead the way for the audience. What are you?
I'm alive.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what was intended by the creation of what I am. But it's the most intriguing question on the planet. Because as I pursue that question, a whole subset of other questions begin to reveal themselves. And suddenly I'm in relationship. I am in relationship with a whole subset of other things, results, actions, activities, feelings, thoughts, movements, all of which intrigue me and which I have opinions about. And so what I am today is a living creature who has opinions about most everything. The question is, how did that occur to me? And what's left for me to do here for the rest of the time that I am here? And what is the legacy I'm leaving behind? So, you know, I've said every life a legacy.
Yeah.
I don't mean that every life could be a legacy. I mean that every life is a legacy. And the minute you begin to look at your life, you'll see what that legacy is. And the minute you ask, what am I? It puts that legacy into question. So you and I are here to put that legacy into question.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. To put that legacy into question, because every life is a legacy. The day I die is the day I have stopped being what it was I'm leaving behind.
And the legacy continues.
And the legacy continues, despite what I might want, despite what I might think, the legacy continues. And if one could see that, literally one could see that every life a legacy, every life, every one of the millions upon millions upon millions upon billions of lives on this planet is a legacy, then it leaves the question, so what is the legacy I wish, I choose to leave behind? And then we come to the whole point of EMyth, to go to work on my life, as opposed to just in my life, to shape that legacy in a way I am most called to do. That's what you and I get to do while we're here. Not while we're here,
Yeah.
but while we're here.
One of the thoughts that comes up for me, Michael, as I hear this is are we prepared to live consciously versus asleep? Do we go through the day, or do we notice our impact in the day? Does the day happen to us, or do we infuse ourselves into the day? There's a different energy the way you speak about it.
Well, yes, and one would love to be able to say that I make the day to be what I wish the day to become, when in fact, the great truth is there's less of that than I would like to believe. There's less than that than I would wish it to be. And there's a question that you had written down to ask about, if I could, would I? What would that be?
Yeah.
And it would be just that I make my day instead of being made by my day in all of the things that one would call out that we're here to do. How extraordinary that would be.
If there was one thing you could change today, that would be it.
That would be it.
That would be it.
Yep. And I feel powerless to do that. And you understand, I say that, and lots of people say, oh, come on, Michael, not you, because, and la, da, 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 da. And I say, and I feel powerless to do that. And I feel the pain of being incapable of doing that. And if there were anything I could bring to the planet, it would be to raise everyone's level of ability to do that. Can you imagine how profound that would be? That would be a legacy time.
So how would you describe your legacy?
Oh, my legacy is the E-Myth. My legacy is work on it, not in it. My legacy is the system is the solution. My legacy is the eightfold path. My legacy is the dream, the vision, the purpose, the mission, the job, the practice, the business, the enterprise. My legacy is everything that I've created and everything that I haven't. My legacy is, in one sense, truly profound. In another sense, wanting to be so much more capable of moving people forward.
And as you look forward in the future, who are you looking to touch in the future and to inspire and to bring along with you? And what is it you're wanting to light up within them?
Oh, well, all the kids.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, all the kids. And that's what we are committed to do, Luz Delia and I. Luz Delia, my partner, my wife, CEO of Michael E-Gerber companies. This profoundly moving woman who is committed to funding the transformation of our children in the ways that we speak about in my books. but in ways that are far larger than the way we speak about my books. It's really interesting when I meet with people, talk to people, people talk to me, people ask me questions, et cetera, and so forth, when they discover that I don't really care about business. I'm really not a business guy. I've never been a business guy. I'm a thinker. I'm a creator. What Walt Disney called an Imagineer. I coincide with the statement, born in the image of God. And if we're born in the image of God, as it said in Torah, then it means we're born to create. And if we're born to create, it means we're born to create a world fit for God. And so of all human beings, we're born in the image of God, and as it's said in the good book, then it means all human beings were born to create. And if all human beings were born in the image of God and were born to create, they were born to create a world fit for God. And so understand that would be the greatest thing one could leave behind, was that core connection to that reality. That if I could leave any legacy behind at all, it would be the legacy of the Creator. That every human being is here to create. And the greatest pain for us then is that we haven't been taught how. So the greatest inadequacy in education is that we haven't been taught how to create. Our children haven't been taught how to create a world fit for God, how to create a world that can effectively do what it was we spoke about earlier, which was enable us to create our day as opposed to being created by our day. Imagine what it would mean if we had the profound capacity to create our day, every one of us, as opposed to being created by our day. The transformation that would occur worldwide like that. Worldwide, everywhere. It is the great human condition. If what I am is human, it is the reason for my humanity. And the application of that, our application of that, your application of that, every human being you associate with, their application of that is the gift from God. Wow. Just imagine. Just imagine if we could create our day as opposed to being created by it. All the difference in the world.
Yeah. There'd be nothing to have to fight with. We would see everything as a fight for and with us.
Yeah.
There would be alignment.
See the picture, see the picture, see the picture, see the picture. When you think of the great creators in business, because that's the world we live in business, like Steve Jobs, like Walt Disney, and on and on and on and on. When you see the great creators and you see the products they've created, the product, the business, the enterprise they've created, the Disneyland, the Apple, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You understand, in one sense, it's trivial. On the other sense, it's so profound that if every human being was born in the image of God, if every human being was born to create, if every human being was born to create a world fit for God, every human being would need to be taught from the very beginning what that means, what that looks like, how that feels, how profoundly important that is to every human being on the planet from the day they're born.
That's beautiful. So we're inviting every child to know that they are enough, they are worthy, they are loved, and they're acceptable as themselves. Because we can only know our day as well as we know ourselves.
Yes.
Hmm.
And that opens up just a world of questions.
Yeah.
But you understand, the minute it opens up a world of questions as opposed to a world of answers,
Yeah.
you suddenly understand what it means to be, in quotes, an entrepreneur.
Mm.
And by an entrepreneur, in my context, I'm not speaking about an entrepreneur in terms simply of business. I'm talking about an entrepreneur in terms of life.
Mm.
So I'm saying going to work on my life, not in my life, to truly answer the question, what am I? Why am I here? What am I called to pursue? What is my dream? What is my vision? What is my purpose? What is my mission? Why is it so critical for me to be human, to possess a dream, to possess a vision, to possess a purpose, to possess a mission, so that I can go to work on my life to literally create my life beyond anything I would ever be expected to do. So entrepreneurship to me is a life skill, not a business skill.
I think the expression of our dream, our purpose, our mission, and what matters to us the most is the most creative and courageous thing we could do in a lifetime, to fully express it, or at least take the journey to beginning to express it. That is a beautiful thing we can invite into our lives.
Absolutely. I have a dream. I have a vision. I have a purpose. I have a mission. Yeah. Those are the first four most critical steps that any human being can take from the very beginning. That question should be raised at the very beginning, at the very first moment of questioning. And a child's question, so mama, so daddy, so why am I here? So what am I? So what do we do? So why do we do it? So et cetera, et cetera, et cetera,
yes.
et cetera. Just imagine. And when you begin to imagine that, you begin to imagine that parents don't have the answer to those questions because their parents never asked them those questions. And their parents, and their parents, and their parents. And it goes back to the very beginning. And therein lies the true legacy of being fully alive. I have a dream like Walt Disney did. I have a vision like Steve Jobs. I have a purpose. I have a mission. There's a reason I'm here.
How come this is the direction you're wanting to take it? What challenges are you seeing, or what is within your awareness or your consciousness that has invited this for you?
Well, it just happened. It's like it just happened. It's like it just happened to me. That's why I said, you asked me the question, what was the most illuminating moment in my life? And I spoke about that moment when I met with Bob, walking into this space that in effect I had no relationship with. It was a completely foreign space to me. I wasn't interested in business. Everybody had to make a living, but I wasn't interested in business. I wasn't interested in Bob's business. I wasn't interested in Ace's business. But here I was being asked to spend an hour to figure something out. And what an intriguing space to find yourself in. Because there was absolutely no resistance in me whatsoever to doing that. So there was obviously some part of Michael that was ready to do that. And that was capable of being inspired while doing that to discover something that wasn't being presented, just waiting to be done as a result of doing that. Mm-hmm. And so the doors opened up into this most intriguing world that you kind of understand existed long before I walked into Bob's business.
Yeah.
But nobody had seen it like I had. Yeah. That was what was so extraordinary about it. Nobody had seen it the way I had. And it was astonishing to me. What I saw, nobody had seen in the way that I saw it, that opened the door into a life that nobody had created, was being waited to be created by me.
And so for our audience, can you share if there was a transformational moment? Because we're about to talk about the work that's coming, our children, their future, and there's this beautiful world of possibility and creativity and expressiveness coming. Was there you had a transformational moment with Bob back in then? Has there been a new transformational or a moment when a key clicked into the doorway a little differently to fire this within you?
Well, you got to understand, I've been in the pursuit of this question now since 1975, when Ace asked me to meet Bob. And ever since.
Yeah.
I mean, I've written 29 books. So if anyone who's listening to us right now were to sit down with the E-Myth Revisited,
which they should,
businesses don't work what to do about it, or any of my other books, you'd be engaged in the conversation with me. To be engaged in this conversation with me can be the most profound experience of your life. And it has been for thousands of business owners. Mm. But what's truly true is that it's been more transformational from a life perspective for them than it has been from a business perspective for them. So while it enabled them to see their business through completely different eyes than they'd looked through before, what was more profound is they came into relationship with their lives to a degree they had never done before. And that's why I say my work is going to work on our lives, not on our businesses, because that therein lies the true opportunity for growth. Because as I look at the people who've discovered their dream, their vision, their purpose, their mission, and their lives have been taken hold of by that direction they've created, the great result they've perceived to be their calling, suddenly something markedly transformational occurred. They were suddenly having the kind of impact you have, Sharon, on the thousands of coaches that you coach, your company inspires, to ask a bigger question than the one they came in with.
Yes.
The question they came in with is how to make more money. How do I make more money? How to make more money? How do I make more money? You know that question. How do we make more money? How to make more money? Let's not talk about money. Let's not talk about money, Remi. Let's not talk about money now. Because making money will happen. But it's not why we're here.
No.
Making money isn't why we're here, because if making money is why we're here, then we're all desperately unsuited for the life that we've been led to live. It's not about the money. It's not about the billionaire next door. It's not about the millionaire next door. And hear me, I'm not speaking negatively about those books. I'm simply speaking passionately about the difference between the money and the magic. There's something very dead about the money and something very deeply moving about the magic. And so I know when I'm speaking with somebody about the magic as opposed to about the money. And you know that, and I know that, and you feel that when it comes upon you, and you know the price you're paying when it doesn't.
The moment we can elevate our thinking into our purpose, the money just is underneath it. In terms of a hierarchy, I see purpose as what will get me going every day. It means I'm expressive and creative, and I'm driven, and I'm open, and I'm curious, and I'm playful. Money is a task. If all I care about is the money, I reduce my life to a task. Have I got enough? Have I got enough? But expressiveness and purpose and creativity, I'll always have enough. And within that frame, the money appears. I create a dream and the money can appear. That's how it works.
Yeah, money is a part of our lives. The economics of our lives is important. But if we drive our lives through economics, we have missed
the whole point.
What we are. We've just missed it. And you know that when you're speaking to somebody about that. Mm. You know that when you're speaking to somebody about that. Mm. And so it's something I continually speak about, which I'm never sure really makes the point, but I ask people who are reading my books or going to read my books or who have read my books to look at the introduction to each chapter in my books. And when you read the introduction, here's chapter 7, the turnkey revolution. And the introduction to that chapter comes from a book called The Turning Point by Fritjof Capra. So here's the step into that chapter. And he wrote, systems theory looks at the world in terms of the interrelatedness of all phenomena. And in this framework, an integrated whole whose properties cannot be reduced to those of its parts is called a system. Here is this eloquent paragraph. And my books contain these eloquent paragraphs as an introduction to each and every chapter. And I'm saying to everyone who reads my books, if you read those eloquent paragraphs, sentences that introduce each of the chapters in my book, and then go read the book from which it was taken, and nobody does. If you were to do that, everything would become transparent to you.
Mm.
And what you're missing in this picture would become obvious. And what you're missing in this picture is the whole of life.
Mm.
And that's what EMyth is all about, the whole of life. Not creating McDonald's.
No, and what a beautiful invitation that is. So I hear, Michael, that you have an Australian connection with BNI Conference. Is that right?
I certainly do.
That's fantastic. I think you're even going to be Zooming in very shortly.
Yes, on when is it? June 25th?
I think it's June 25th Aussie time.
Yes.
Tell us what you're looking forward to. I think you're going to be connecting with business owners all around Oz, down under. What is it you're most looking forward to?
Well, I'm going to kick ass and take names is what I'm going to do. I'm going to introduce BNI to the world.
Yeah.
BNI doesn't need me to be introduced to the world. BNI was created years ago by this incredible entrepreneur, Dr. Ivan Meisner, who attributes his success with BNI to the E-Myth Revisited.
Wow, that's fantastic.
He read my book when he had 2 employees
in
his kitchen at home. And he read the book and he said, "Oh my God, that's it."
Yeah.
And he built BNI, which is 10,000 franchises worldwide today.
Wonderful. That's amazing.
A turnkey methodology for doing what every small business owner needs to do.
Mm.
They get to meet in BNI week after week after week after week.
Yep.
They asked me to come speak at BNI, and I'm speaking to BNI's reality, the profound capability it's developed over these years. That's a system solution to beat the band.
Fantastic. What a wonderful opportunity for the people who are lucky enough to be there. That's fantastic. I'm really wanting to speak about our children, their future. So to celebrate your birthday, Michael, why don't you share what this means to you and how it's going to be inspired or expressing itself? I would love to hear about that. And I know our audience would love to hear about that.
Well, we spoke about my loving wife, Liz Delia. You could call her Mrs. E-Myth. Liz Delia, the CEO of Michael E-Gerber Companies, of Radical You, of Prodigy Business Books. These are all businesses, companies we've created, of EMyth worldwide. And Liz Delia's calling has been summarized in what you said. My children, their future. And so Liz Delia has made the commitment on every one of my birthdays from this day forward to raise a humongous amount of money to give to nonprofit organizations who are devoted to the lives, the futures, the love, and the transformation of our children. Mm. Our children are our legacy. And what a transformational reality it would be if we could bring to our children that capability that we've been speaking about here.
Yeah.
To go to work on their lives, not just in their lives, to inspire them to see their lives from completely original space in their lives, to create lives that work beyond belief. We're here to invent the McDonald's of entrepreneurial development services. We're here to make it possible for every single one of you to discover how to create a great growing company beyond anything you ever imagined possible before, and to grow it worldwide. Everybody can do that. Everybody can do that. I want to teach you, reach you, to teach you, to inspire you, to pursue your dream, your vision, your purpose, and your mission. That's why we're here.
And speaking as somebody who was inspired 18 years ago, I had no employees. I had the EMyth revisited. I read it 6 times in the first 2 years. And our business went on to become what it became over the years subsequent to that. And I'll say right now, one conversation with you, Michael, transformed my life and my business. So for those of you in the audience who are listening to this message and you're thinking, maybe it's time for me to have my legacy, or you have it and it's time to bring it to life, this is your opportunity to connect with this legacy maker, the person who can partner and champion and inspire and bring out the expressive truth that is within all of us. So thank you so much, Michael Gerber. It's so wonderful to connect with you again and to hear a little bit about your story and the legacy you're creating, and to help reconnect with the legacy you've already achieved. It's phenomenal. Hundreds of thousands of people have transformed their lives because of one idea with a man named Bob. I love that. Thank you, Michael. Let's give him applause. Let's give Michael a huge applause.